How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RuffledRowlit, and welcome back to a brand new video, guys. Today we got ourselves some Pokemon stuff to talk about. Definitely some rumors you guys may enjoy and some theories. Let's get started. First things first is going to be this right here. Now, you guys may have seen this 4chan post already. I'm going to be sharing it again, but it is an update. So you guys may remember that the other day we had a pic like this, you know, quote-unquote gameplay being shown, showing what looks to be some sort of YVETAL. Like, it kind of looks like YVETAL, at least in the front, almost like a snaky version of YVETAL, which was really weird. But this is the actual footage of it now, like the actual, you know, recording. And the guy says, it was a Swadloon, which, yes, like a little Swadloon in the bottom there. To begin with, okay, I still think this is fake, and I think this post pretty much confirms it's fake, because this is the actual raw footage, and graphically, this doesn't really look like Legends EA. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm crazy. I mean, I've heard some people say that it actually does kind of match, and that like one of the things that matches is actually, I think this was suggested by Cam Tendo, who said that if you actually look at the grass, the movement of the grass is very similar to the movement you see in the Legends EA trailer for the movement of the grass there. It's just that the foliage and everything, like you got like little like leaves and stuff falling, that doesn't look like I'm gonna be a little bit disrespectful to Game Freak right now. Doesn't look like Game Freak level of quality that they'd be able to do. But maybe I'm wrong. This could be real. The one thing that this would make sense as is potentially something that's like underneath Kalos, right? Or underneath in our case, Lumio City, right? If you think about Lumio City, it is based on Paris. And if you guys didn't know this, underneath Paris, there are catacombs, which is just these vast tunnels that run all across the city of Paris. And those catacombs are filled with, well, I'm not going to go into detail on that, but basically, they're filled with just terrifying shit, and they run for a very large distance. And the thing is, we already know that they've used, like, something similar to that. They've already used, you know, I guess if you want to call it like the catacombs in some form or shape, already in Pokemon X and Y. They already used it there. So we know for a fact they're willing to do it. We know for a fact they've done it before. So again, it adds to this possibility that it could still happen here, and this could potentially be what's down there. So I still think there's going to be some sort of tunnels and underground stuff we're going to be able to explore in Legends EA. If this is going to be hiding down there, I don't know about that, though. I don't think that's necessarily, like, guaranteed to be the case. But again, the possibility of another city or another location being underneath a existing place is not, like, a crazy thing to Pokemon. I mean, think about, for example, Scarlet and Violet with the Area Zero, for example. That's underneath Paldea. So speculating or trying to make up some possibility of, like, there being an underground location also for Legends EA is not that crazy, because we've already had examples. I think Team Flare was messing around in the underground right underneath Lumios already in some catacombs back in X and Y. So again, we have a lot of indications for why it would actually make sense to us for us to have that. So that's where I'm going to pretty much like put that one. As for the actual like you know, footage here, I'm going to play it again. You guys can just watch what's happening on the screen. What you will notice is at the bottom you have the Swadloon you know, like logo, and again the map up here. The location on the map here doesn't really match, I think, any we've seen in the trailer. I don't think there's any that matches that, but also doesn't really look like you're necessarily underground here. I mean, maybe I'm crazy. It says north up there, and then it's like that it's like, I guess, daytime on the top, and then a zoom in thingy on the right side over here, which is like literally being blocked by my fat ass. So you guys can see there's a little zoom in thing right here, which you can see, but those all like fade out as, like, you know, I guess, like, you know, the closest thing to what this is supposed to maybe be in terms of what it looks like, I guess it's supposed to be like you using a camera feature like Rotom Phone or something in the game. That's the only way I would like be able to explain what this is, but I still think this is BS. And then of course, speaking of like fake leaks and stuff, there's this one. I just want to quickly debunk it. I mean, if you literally look at this thing, look inside of it, there's literally, I mean, look, poor Probopass is stuck inside of his belly. So yeah, this one's obviously fake. I don't really think we need to discuss this one. It's just obviously fake. There's nothing else I can really say about it. But yeah, again, in terms of this one though, I still think it's fake, but it's definitely the best fake I've seen. Graphically though, it does not look even tiny bit, like not even an inch like Legends EA. It looks way too good to be Legends EA. Like, the graphically looks too good. It looks too clean. Like, way too clean to be Legends EA. So, that's why I'm pretty much going to be confirming here that it's fake. And let's move on to something a bit more fun, which we're going to talk about, which is going to be some speculation and theories. This is coming to us from Soul Silver Art, who says 2 names from Legends EA trailer that I found interesting. First up is Hotel Z. Very sus that this is the name of AZ's hotel, being 3,000 years old. AZ definitely knows things, and apparently this hotel is really old and was forgotten until he came around. Fair enough. The Z implies something related to Zygarde or Infinity or / Zenith energy. AZ probably bought this place for a reason. Could he have his own connection / motives related to Zygarde now? We really don't know. Then we also have Quasartico. Very Spanish-feeling etymology. I doubt it means much more than a fun nod to Paldea. ZA is a Gen 9 game, which is true. But also, I do think it's weird they called it Quasartico and not just Quasar Inc. or whatever. Because it's just called Quasar in every other language besides English for some reason, which is really strange. But either way, AZ literally, if you look here at this post, says AZ is a man who stands over 9 feet tall. He's the owner of Hotel Z. There's where we have the proof of it being called Hotel Z, and claims to be 3,000 years old. He's quietly harboring a strong determination and will. But again, it's just strange. And also here you can see, just thought about this. It's very likely that AZ even named this hotel. Why name it Z? Maybe he was there when the hotel was first built and was originally called Hotel Z a few hundred years ago. Or maybe something happened in the past in this exact spot related to Zygarde that made him name the hotel this way. Again, we're going to have to wait and see if anything does develop from this, but in terms of like the hotel itself, it's clear that it's meant to just serve as our hub. But since AZ's already been shown off, because we were really thinking about, like, you know, before this game, like this trailer came out, we were really speculating like, oh, how is AZ going to fit into this? The game literally has his name, ZAAZ, you know, you get the point. What's his impact going to be? He seems to be the good guy, and I do think it'd be fun, actually. I think it'd be really funny if they end up actually making him into a straight-up villain, even though he's supposed to have been redeemed, right? I think it'd be really funny if they did that instead. And like, they make like Quasartico and them look evil, and then AZ ends up being the actual villain. I think that would be a pretty cool plot twist, in my opinion. Again, that's just what I think, but I thought it'd be just a fun way to go about things. Next up is another theory coming to us from Soul Silver, and it's actually about Quasartico, which is, did you know that the new Quasartico Incorporated building, HQ, right there, is actually Lumios was built exactly where Lysander's lab was in X and Y, the same Team Flare HQ where the ultimate weapon was activated. On top of that, I think that Vinny, of course, Vinny and Quasartico's secretary bears a striking resemblance to Lysander, which I've already spoken about this in many videos. If you look at the design of their faces, they just look identical, man. Like, literally identical. Same face, same, like, grin, like, angry grin. It's literally identical. So, clearly they're connected. On top of that, I think that Vinny bears a striking resemblance to Lysander. His mouth and expressions and facial hair is very similar. If he has blue eyes behind those shades, it's all but confirmed. Fair enough. Could be Lysander's brother or relative that wants to secretly continue the work that his relative started. That is if he's evil. Again, we assume he's evil, but there's not really any guarantees for that, right? Like, we don't actually have anything that's guaranteeing that he's going to be evil. I would like it if there was a twist and he isn't evil. I'd like it if there's a twist that he turns out to actually be a genuinely good guy. The same way that, like, if you play Pokemon, the Crown Tundra DLC for Sword and Shield, you actually meet Rose's brother. And he's actually really good. He's a decent person. He's not a total a-hole. He's actually a decent individual. So I do hope that maybe that's the kind of twist we get here. I think it'll be fun. But again, let's continue. It's also worth mentioning that Quasartico is using all of Lysander's tech to redevelop Lumio City to help people and Pokemon to further coexist. Fair enough. I don't know if Jet is aware of all this or if Quasartico itself has a sinister goal, but I do think some of it, not all of them, will be involved with the antagonist role of this game. Fair point. Here's just a little bit of, you know, point about Lysander's lab is the moniker of the hideout located behind a china cabinet in Lysander's Cafe, which is located in Lumio City's Magenta Plaza, serving as one of Team Flare's headquarters. It's also the location from which the ultimate weapon is activated. So again, there is also the fact that, again, this connects really well to the idea of, like, there potentially being some hidden underground catacomb locations that we can explore. Potentially, like, it could be that Quasartico has been redeveloping this, like, quickly, mainly because they maybe found some source or something underground that they're tapping into, some sort of power they're tapping into under the ground, which potentially you might see the, you know, the actual, like, revelations of. Then we have a bit of an interesting theory here from Jake, who says that theory, since Pokemon Legends EA primary selling point appears to be battles, I think promotion match feature teased at the end of the trailer will give you a way to do competitive battling over and over again. Again, I think it's going to be a battle frontier. That's personally what I think. I think that this promotion match thingy announcement, I think it's going to be some form of Battle Frontier. And that's mainly to do with the weird connection, oddly enough, that you can see to, like in the logo here, to specifically Magma and Aqua, like Team Magma, Team Aqua, which just seems really odd. Like really odd that their logos would be in here. Just seems so strange. But here's what Jake says though. Lumios wants to integrate humans and Pokemon life, so the promotion promotes solidarity between people and Pokemon through battling. People get notified on their phone and come to watch these battles from all over the city at Lumios Tower. Huge event for locals and tourists. Actually a cool idea. Then you see, battles get more and more competitive as you rise through the ranks, and you can feature special rule sets, use this single type, use one Pokemon, etc., and special guests, notably people in Lumios or tourists traveling from other regions. Actually, you know what, this makes a lot of sense, because if you think about it, right, I'm saying Battle Frontier, but when I say Battle Frontier, it doesn't have to necessarily be the actual Battle Frontier from from Ruby and Sapphire, or, you know, any of the other games that had, like, Battle Frontiers in them. It doesn't have to be like that. What I'm saying is, it could be a cool idea to, like, you know, do something like this. I mean, he's talking about a promotional, like, battle system, right? Where everybody in the city comes around to watch these promotion matches between people in the city. Again, as he mentions, specifically to promote unity between people and Pokemon as the, you know, city's being redeveloped to fit humans and Pokemon. But what I'm saying is, I think there could be something like this, but I still think it's going to be some sort of battle tower where we're going to be able to do different sorts of battling. Not just one kind, but different kinds of battles and against different kinds of people. But we'll see. The fact that they made a big deal out of it makes me feel like it's going to be important, and maybe we're going to see old characters reappear. Maybe that's why it's being promoted, like, you know, like so separately and so sneakily. Who knows? But then he also says, participating in these battles will no doubt better your bond with your Pokemon, so maybe you even see additional sections added to your Mega Evolution meter, increasing the amount of time you stay Mega Evolve, which is true, because if you think about it, the Mega, like, that's actually a good point, because if you think about it, the Mega Evolution is now limited to a specific amount of bars. I think here it's like, what, 4 bars? It could increase. They could actually make them, like, smaller and then increase the amount, and then make it, like, run out slower, which would, you know, showcase a way of, like, hey, you know, you can actually increase the length of your Mega Evolution if you just do a good job, you know, like, treating your Pokemon well. Like, it actually would make sense. It actually fits really well. Actually fits really, really well. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Because I'm really curious. This is like the biggest question mark to me, is this tower right now. Everything else kind of, you can sort of speculate pretty easily, but there's like the biggest one where it's like, where are they going with it? What are they going to do with it? Because we know there's no gyms anymore, because we're only in Lumios. We're not going to be going outside of Lumios. And we know for a fact that Lumios Tower used to be a gym in X and Y, but it no longer is, because they've removed the gym logo from the actual tower in all the footage you look at. So there is no gym there anymore, which then makes me, you know, wonder, what's the deal? Like, what are we going to do there? What is this tower meant to be? But let's move on to the next thing, which is going to be this post again from our boy Soul Silver, who made a theory about AZ and his Eternal Floette. He says, fans have been calling this AZ's Floette for a decade, but it's now canonically called Eternal Flower Floette. Having this officially as its name suggests that there could be more than one, instead of a name as a possession of another person. So this leads to the second option of how it could finally be obtainable in Legends EA. See, in Oras, we see that AZ planted a giant tree in Sotopolis, and right under that tree, we see an Eternal Flower sprouting, which is true. You can see that right there. See an Eternal Flower right there. I don't know if my face is blocking it, but it's... So, you know what? I'm going to literally move myself physically over here so I can point at it. Right here. There it is. It's the flower. So the question then is, right, as we continue, in Oras, we see that AZ planted a giant tree in Sotopolis. Right underneath the tree, there's an Eternal Flower sprouting. This could mean that AZ has the knowledge of how to make more Eternal Flower Floettes. Fair enough. He could give us a flower to transform our own Floette mid or end game. Maybe even this same flower from Sotopolis. Or he could just give us an egg containing a baby Eternal Flower Floette. Maybe its mother is AZ's Floette. Maybe it can only hatch once its mother is gone, starting a new cycle of that powerful flower. Maybe she makes a sacrifice instead of AZ. Or maybe there are already 2 Eternal Floettes, and maybe the second one comes to find AZ's Floette, and this is then gifted to us on our journey. But I don't know. It's interesting. Also, it's a good point here. Bro, it was always called Eternal Flower Floette. I think that's true, though. I think it's always been called that, now that I think about it. Because I've always called it Eternal Flower Floette. Now that I think about it, I've never called it AZ's Floette. Because, I don't know, has it ever been called, like, Eternal Flower. Yeah, I think it's always just been Eternal Flower Floette. I don't think that's new necessarily. But what he does say, though, the rest of the stuff, though, the concept of how they can go about actually giving it to us, I am fully on board for it. I think it's a interesting way to explain why there will be more than one. I think it's an interesting way, but we'll have to wait and see if they do anything with it. But that's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.